What if the answer to the Commanders' biggest weakness was out there in the market and no one was paying attention? While fans celebrated the 2025 draft picks, a question began to echo among analysts and more attentive supporters. Where is the pass rush? The truth is, Washington went through all 7 rounds of the draft without addressing one of its most glaring needs, and that could prove costly once the season begins. The Commanders' defense, once feared by many quarterbacks, now enters the new year depending on names that still need to prove consistency. Javon Kinlaw will have the task of justifying his contract, while Darren Payne will try to return to his Pro Bowl form. On the edges, the rotation includes players like Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Clelin Ferrell, and Dietrich Wise Jr., names with discrete stints in other franchises. Pressure on opposing backfields seems like an unfinished chapter in this rebuilding book. But maybe that chapter can gain a new main character. Jadeveon Clowney, yes, the same one who was once the #1 overall pick, is back on the market. A 3-time Pro Bowler with stops at 6 different teams and eye-catching numbers, 58 sacks, 15 forced fumbles, and 32 deflected passes over a career marked by ups and downs, but always impactful. At 32 years old, Clowney is no longer the generational prospect he once was, but he remains a respectable force. And more importantly, he's available. Under the command of Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., Clowney could take on exactly the role Dante Fowler played in 2024, a rotational pass rusher ready to come in and wreak havoc. With Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner already anchoring the defense, having Clowney as a trump card, especially considering Wagner's age, would be a smart and strategic reinforcement. Additionally, Clowney has experience as both a linebacker and a defensive end in 4-3 schemes, which makes him versatile within the Commanders' defensive philosophy. He can fill multiple gaps and still serve as a mentor to a young group in need of leadership and consistency. Ignoring him at this point in the offseason would be to repeat the draft's mistake. Maybe the gift the Panthers gave the market is exactly what the Commanders need to compete for a playoff spot. And he's there, just waiting for a call from Adam Peters. But for that move to happen, more than logic is needed, vision is required. Jadeveon Clowney may no longer set headlines on fire, but he's exactly the kind of underestimated player who can become a key piece on a team searching for identity and aggression. The Commanders don't need a savior. They need an elite worker. And Clowney, even away from the spotlight, continues to deliver production and experience. With the season knocking at the door, questions are piling up in Washington. Will management bet on a proven talent to fill the gap left by Dante Fowler? Or will they keep trusting emerging names who haven't yet shown consistent service in the league? The opportunity is there. Clowney knows the game, knows the grind of the NFL, and perhaps more importantly, still wants to prove he can be decisive. A low-risk contract could turn into a high-impact outcome, exactly the type of move smart teams make late in the offseason. This isn't just about plugging a roster hole, it's about sending a message that Washington won't just participate in the season. They will compete. They will attack. And for that, they need soldiers ready for battle. If the NFL has taught us anything, it's that championships aren't just won with offensive stars. They're won in the trenches, in the clash of lines, in the pressure that forces mistakes, in the sack that changes a game's outcome. And in that aspect, Clowney still delivers. He may not be the 2016 player who terrorized quarterbacks weekly, but his presence on the field is still a factor. He understands the shortcuts of the game. He knows how to read blocks. He knows how to create chaos. The Commanders, who are in the midst of a rebuild with a new front office and a bolder vision for the future, can't afford to ignore opportunities like this. Adam Peters came in with a mission of turning this franchise into a powerhouse. This type of move, precise, timely, efficient, shows a commitment to results, not just promises. Clowney wouldn't come to be a star. He would come to make an impact. To be the veteran who leads by example, who steps onto the field and changes the defense's rhythm with one explosive play. He would come to do exactly what Dan Quinn loves: create confusion, collapse the pocket, and push quarterbacks out of their comfort zone. And if you look closely, there's a synergy that can't be ignored. Clowney has the kind of versatility Quinn loves to explore. In shape, motivated, and with a chance to return to the playoffs with an aggressive defense, he could relive moments of glory and, at the same time, help mold the young talent still developing on the roster. Now the ball is in the Commanders' court. The market has offered an unexpected gift: a hungry veteran, a perfect fit piece. It's going to take courage to act. But courage is what separates ordinary teams from those who make history. If you want to keep following everything behind the scenes with the Commanders, every rumor, every impactful decision, and the analyses that mainstream media ignores, subscribe now to the Commanders Fan News Today channel. Hit the bell and be part of this community that lives every play to the fullest. As a Commanders fan, it's impossible not to feel a mix of frustration and hope. Frustration at seeing the team ignore such an obvious need like pass rush in the draft again. But also hope because there's still time to fix that mistake. And Jadeveon Clowney represents exactly that chance. I know he's not that physical freak he was at the start of his career anymore, but the guy still has juice. He still makes an impact. And what excites me most is imagining him in this new Dan Quinn defensive system. Picture Clowney coming in on third down, with the defense rotating and the opponent already worn down. This is the kind of piece that could change games and give an identity to a defense that needs to rediscover its strength. Honestly, if the front office wants to show it's serious about winning now, there are no excuses. Go get him, Adam Peters. Sign the man. Washington fans have seen this movie, letting talent slip by far too many times. Let's not make the same mistake again. And you, fan, do you think Clowney would be a good addition to? Comment below. And if you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like, share, and subscribe to Commanders Fan News Today. Here we live every move like it's game day. And you know what bothers me most as a fan? Watching other teams be aggressive, making the right moves in the offseason, while we always seem to wait too long, always analyze too much. The NFL doesn't wait. The window to compete is short. And if we want to take a leap in 2025, we need to be bold. Defense is the soul of any team with high hopes. And ours has lost some key pieces. Clowney may not be the ultimate solution, but he would be a fast, affordable, and efficient answer to a problem that's already screaming. Imagine what he could do next to Darren Payne and Frankie Lavu. Imagine the rotation with Dorrance Armstrong and the impact that would have in the third quarter when the opposing offensive line is already worn out. This is the kind of move that separates wildcard teams from true divisional round threats. And yes, I believe we can get there. But only if we're strategic and realistic. We can't keep betting everything on average players hoping they'll suddenly become elite. We need players who are ready. Players who step on the field and demand respect. Clowney can be that guy. An impact reinforcement, a locker room mentor, and above all, a statement that this team is taking the season seriously. If you also believe it's time for Commanders to be more aggressive in the market and stop watching the offseason pass by, comment below. Clowney in Washington, yes or no? And don't forget to subscribe to Commanders Fan News Today, because here we track every step of the rebuild, and we're not afraid to say what needs to be said. And there's one more thing I need to say as a fan. Enough of accepting almost. Enough of watching the Commanders take the field with glaring holes in the roster and still hoping for miracles. The foundation is being built, the leadership seems to have a plan, but plans without execution don't win games. They only feed frustration. Looking at Clowney now is seeing a solution practically knocking at the door. An experienced player battle-tested with playoff pedigree who can offer exactly what our defense is missing: explosiveness, leadership, and versatility. We're talking about someone who knows what it's like to play under pressure, something many of these young players still need to learn. And to those who think it's too late or that he's not the same anymore, I ask, how many games have we lost for not having depth on defense? How many promising campaigns were cut short because there was no quarterback pressure at the crucial moment? We can't afford to repeat those mistakes. Bringing in Clowney would send a clear message. The Commanders are ready to turn the page, to leave mediocrity behind, to truly compete. So, Adam Peters, if you're listening, now is the time. The fans are waiting for a sign that this year will be different. And Clowney could be the first step in that turnaround.